Hello and welcome to another episode of the DewatchPod. I am Jorgen Smorgasbord.
And I am the distant memory of Jim with a G.
And we've got another Season 7 episode for you because, of course, we have de-watched all the Black Mirror seasons in reverse order. And now we've gotten to Season 7, which came out after we started doing that.
Because Charlie Brooker is a sneaky little fella.
And we have watched Eulogy.
Yeah. Do we recommend this episode, Jorgen?
I would say so.
Yeah, me too, honestly. I don't even think there's much hesitation here.
Yeah.
I do not think it is a flawless episode, but we will get to that.
Yeah, I'll just wanna flag. Last episode, I was like, oh, we're gonna have Paul Giamatti. And guess fucking what? He delivers!
We do have Paul Giamatti, and I have very little familiarity with this actor, but he seems pretty good at it. I think this guy might make it.
Well, he's pretty old now.
I think he can do it. Shall we hit our dear listeners with some content warnings? We have a short one, and
we've only got 3 content warnings for you.
And I want to say we're safe from adding too many more, because usually, when we have to edit in more, it's because the episode is like a miasma of bad stuff happening. Yeah. And that's not quite what's happening here.
Yeah, no, but we do have death.
Implied alcohol abuse.
And infidelity.
Yes. So quite light ones, relatively speaking, for Black Mirror.
But unlike other episodes where the content warnings are just like a brief, very intense moment of, say, gore, remembering, I think, literally last episode with that one. This one is more like, these are the central themes of the episode. And
maybe not death, honestly. I think death is, it's a inciting incident, and that's about it. I guess it exists in the background.
This episode, in the briefest of terms, is about Paul Giamatti, whose, character's name, is it Paul?
Philip. I want to say, because his later name is
Philly. Yeah.
Which is genuinely the first time I thought about his name in the entire episode.
Oh, yeah, no, it's he's the protagonist. He doesn't, he's mostly having, one-on-one conversations.
Yeah.
Which is really what this episode is about. He gets a weird phone call from a company called Eulogy. The title is dropped immediately, more or less.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, this lady died. And he's like, what? Don't remember her. Oh, her maiden name was this, and he needs to sit down.
Yeah.
I think he's already sitting, but he needs to sit down harder. And they're like, oh, we'll send you a package, and guess what? It's the fucking side of your head neural interface button. They've modified the design slightly. But no matter, he's like, alright, I'm going to, breeze through this, and I'm going to show 3 photos, and then it's going to leave me alone, except, of course, he did agree to do this for some reason. That is slowly going to be unveiled over the course of the episode.
I think the characterization here is quite good. I just want to flag it, because, you get the impression that this is, he's, I want to say 70-ish, 60, somewhere in there.
It's like an American middle age, so it's very hard to estimate. Because, they have classes over there in a very different way than, you know, elsewhere.
But yeah, we just kind of get the impression that this is a gentle, but also a bit surly old man. Immediately corrects the caller on the pronunciation of his surname, etc., etc. So we get the impression that this is okay, but I'm being bullied into this by this phone salesman, essentially.
And yet he keeps going at every turn.
Oh, yes.
And the interface to this neural button thing is a polite British woman who, you seem disbelieving.
No, I think you're right. I just so I want to flag here for a moment. When she was first introduced, I don't know how to put this in a way that's not going to get twisted, but usually when we get female AI guides, they're usually here's like a blonde bombshell. So I was quite immediately like, oh, they're not doing that. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, no, and the reason for this is that this is like a person. This is an AI with person energy right out the gate.
Yeah, she's a bit sassy. I think it's the first part where like, and
she's also like a bit like reluctant and shy in the beginning,
yeah,
right?
I was almost annoyed with that at the start, but like there's good reason for it, and I think the important bit, like as the plot develops, is that she is willing to give pushback. And it starts very slight.
Yeah, and like she has like a proper personality. She has like a physical appearance that's just introduced very early in like the neural space, and then just like she is just like another actor in this story. Yeah. Like also in the sense that she has like an actor who is on screen a lot of the time.
Yes.
Which is like very different from a lot of other things. But we'll get to why that is. And after like a sort of tepid intro that's like, oh yeah, no, I have like these photographs, I guess. But I guess we can't do that much with them. She hers backs to us in this one. And
I want to say the establishing character moment of Paul Giamatti here, where he goes, I have a few more, but they're not great. And both of us, I want to flag here, when he says like, oh, you can't use them, both of us were like, are these going to be boudoir photos?
Yeah.
And we were wrong. Like, this is one time. Charlie Brooker is for once less horny than we are.
I suppose.
It turns out my man has a lot of photos where he's cut or stabbed or burnt out her,
scratched or colored over, all of the above.
Her face, the face of the woman whose eulogy that this company is seeking.
And oh boy, there's just boxes upon boxes upon boxes. And basically we go through their love story, and it seems like it seems pretty fun, you know. There are like a number of like small tensions are introduced, like they're both a bit jealous. He is doing a good bit of like unreliable narration, and the AI, who is just like a lady who's talking to him in the memory mind space, is like, well, yeah, but you know, like, oh, she looks uncomfortable there when you're being jealous about that guy.
I think it's also quite interesting because one of the ways they introduce this characterization of her is like that the first thing she actually flags makes him look maybe like a bit unobservant, but generally it makes the other woman Carol. I think it's probably good that we establish her name.
Carol is the dead woman.
Yeah, makes her seem kind of like the bad guy, because one thing that apparently he did not notice is that in the original photo where they're just like flirting, she has an engagement ring on.
Yep.
And whether he just suppressed that or is lying or just did not notice is up in the air, but there's some moral ambiguity to start with.
Yeah. And what's interesting here, and I'm just like reaching ahead for a moment here, is that this episode is like a bit about the unreliability of memory, but it is also very much about doing like a bit of archaeology on like this guy's attic, and figuring out like sort of the truth of their relationship.
Yeah.
And as things go on, you know, he's not great, and she's she, as in Carol, is only characterized secondhand, right?
She does not truly gets to be her own person. But there's like that's kind of the struggle that's kind of at the core of this episode, right? Is that like Paul Giamatti is essentially like, he has built up this image of her that she ruined his life. Like there's a quote,
and
like,
we haven't gotten to why he thinks that yet, to be clear. Yeah. But that is what colors all of this leading up. But at the same time, we also have the countervailing voice of the AI woman, who's like, I know, I feel like you're casting her in a bad light every now and then.
And I think it's interesting because there are two parts to the AI woman's sort of pushback. One of them is like, hey, you did bad things too, right? Like, here's this coworker who's like clinging to you in like a, you seem to be characterizing this as, haha, we're just hanging out, and she's like touching your chest and stuff like that. Like, it's a bit intense. But there's also the part where she offers nuance, right?
Yeah.
Which is something he has, whether he ever picked up on it or not, is something he has shaved off over these years.
Yeah, no, this is like a person who is wading into memories that have been mulled over the space of canonically like 15 years.
Yeah, there's a very specific and telling quote where he's like, we were together for 3 years and she ruined me for the next 15.
Yeah, which, like, brutal.
Yeah, Jesus.
That is 18 years. That is a person coming into being.
And, you know, you kind of go like, wow, that's a lot. And then you think about the fact that this guy, to his retirement age, is still keeping multiple boxes of headless photos of her. And you go, okay, that's consistent.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, he cannot remember her face. And that is made, like, a point of relevance.
Yes, and this is kind of an ongoing mystery that we had a bad premonition about that turned out to be incorrect, thankfully.
Yeah, no, we don't have to mention us being wrong, really.
But yeah, I think like the part where the part where this story really, I guess, takes off is the point where she, Carol, Podcat also wants to be part of this memory hole.
Of course.
Carol leaves for England because she has failed to find a job in the US where they've been living, and now gets an opportunity to go to England for 6 months and have a fairly mid job by the sound of it. And our boy Paul Giamatti does not respond to this well. Like, he's clearly bitter about it, even retelling it. And then he shows a photo of himself on his birthday, and the AI woman goes, well, I guess you weren't alone. And he goes, what? Well, someone had to take the photo.
Yeah. And he's like, I did cheat on her that one time.
And she found out, because for once she called. Like,
which, to be clear, is not an indictment of her keeping contact, because she wrote postcards, but it's like, we used to, like, have it be very expensive to call people on the phone over distance.
And now my lover has heard a call, and she's like, I guess I'll answer that. And it's my girlfriend.
Yeah, which, like,
Oof.
you know, that's some proper, like, romance blow up.
Yeah,
and
it's
yeah, no, we leave this kind of unresolved, but the impression is that this is unresolved in the moment as well, like, after, like, a long argument that doesn't really seem to go anywhere. But still, he, like, visits her in England, and he's like, I know just the thing to solve the situation.
Timeline, by the way, couple of months after this incident.
I was set to visit her, and I didn't want to not do that in any case. So, and this is where he just, like, really pulls the big move, which is pulling, like, the little wedding proposal ring box out of the fucking, like, memory crate.
Yeah.
And it goes about as expected, and
I want to say, by the way, there's a slight detail here, because previously we've had these photos, right, like, where he's been like, here's a photo of me, I can't remember, oh, like, this was a party, this was when we were, like, at our new apartment. They're quite strong photos. This time, like, this is from his, like, fully sealed box, and he pulls out a brochure for a restaurant.
Yeah.
And that's enough for him to remember the scene in fairly good detail. Still not her face, but, like, I think that this is quite, like, an interesting little detail that shows that, like, this memory is lodged deep within, and for good reason.
Because basically, he, on account of the situation, is quite nervous, and account of his generally already, like, hinted at alcohol problems, turns to, like, going through the fucking champagne to, assuage himself. And he gets down on his knee, and she's refusing all the champagne. And she looks a bit, like she's put on a bit of weight, but she's still beautiful. more or less direct line from
Yeah.
the episode. And he goes down on one knee, and she goes silent and leaves. And he's like, anyway, that's why I'm extremely mad at her and think she ruined my life.
I want to say, like, I think in moment it's even more devastating because the impression I get is that there were several minutes of silence before she leaves, and that's brutal. Like, he is like, please say something, and she does not.
Yeah.
Like she does not utter a word, and I think this will become somewhat relevant in a little bit.
And this is where we get, I guess, the, like, biggest reveal of the episode, because the AI goes like, yeah, bitch, she was pregnant with me. Because I'm, like, a sort of, like, vague model of the daughter.
Yeah.
And you skipped the intro for setting this thing up so that the information was conveniently concealed for me to just fucking dunk on you.
Yeah, this averts a disaster because for like a little bit we were genuinely worried that the AI was gonna be Carol, and we were like, that makes no goddamn sense.
Yeah.
But it was mostly just because like of the lack of face of Carol. And her being there, and the fact that they have a fairly similar build, they have roughly the same hair color. Bullet dodged.
I had like a brief theory that immediately failed, that she was Carol, but like she's only there for us to see, and that like she's never standing in a way where she's in Paul Giamatti's eyeline, and then like the shot as I'm like, pitching this theory, should they just like stand and face each other? I'm like, fuck, all my Fight Club knowledge has gone to shit. I guess it's overdone now. Anyway, at this point we do like the final bit of archaeology, unearthing like she wrote a note or something, and you ignored her. And
thanks, Podcat. We're not ignoring you. Well, we
would
are.
Never ignore you, Podcat.
But yeah, I think specifically the way like is that the daughter AI basically goes like, she said she wrote you a note, and he goes, no, she didn't.
And they basically just like do like a little bit of like putting together the pieces, and it also happens that the cleaning lady like worked through his shit and like put it on a pile, and he just happened to have also put it in the attic. Then he finds this note where she explains like, hey, I love you, I'm pregnant, I don't know how to deal with this. And given that he thought she wasn't talking to him, and she clearly thought he wasn't talking to her, that was that.
Specifically, she writes like, meet me here so that we can have our love moving forward. And if you don't meet me here at this time, I will never bother you again.
Oh, I actually missed that.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
like, no, she goes like, meet me at the matinee entrance, like this time. I forget what it was exactly. But yeah, like, so she believes she has fully given him like, okay, I will get out of your life, I understand. I also cheated. You cheated first. But, like, fair enough if you just want to call this quits. In parentheses, I personally think that was probably the healthier end to this relationship, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, we are like, shown a lot of flaws for, like, Philip/Paul Giamatti. But, like, the thing I think that's... And we are more or less near the end, so I'm going to start interpreting a little bit. Like, the thing that is kind of missing a little bit from this episode is, like, the good times. Because it is just, like, going from, like, bad moment of their relationship to bad moment of their relationship.
Yeah, I think we get the start where basically we get, like, they get on really well. Like, he appreciates her music.
That's it.
He appreciates her music. They get an apartment together, and after that, the sassing begins. Where we get this like very small detail, where she's like, they take a photo, and she's slightly annoyed with him for having a beer bottle in the photo.
Yeah.
And that's in and of itself like laughed off. But like we get the like this was quite early that this relationship was having issues.
Well, yeah, but not
in a healthy relationship. You could just be like, whatever. Like, we had a disagreement, and that's fine.
Like that is sort of like the the like other possibility that is sort of being seeded throughout all this, right? Like, yeah, no, maybe like all these issues could have been like resolved if like that note had been found, right? That is sort of the alternate good reality that is being seeded, and but we're also being seeded like, nah, he does have like a bad relationship with alcohol, and she doesn't get filled out
I
enough
think
to be like, oh, what are her flaws?
I think this is something we'll get into once we start like properly talking about memories and stuff like that. But I think one of the interesting things is that like the reveal that the AI guide is her daughter really adds some texture to this. Like this,
Yeah.
like the fact that she's pushing back on his bad assumptions. Because at first you can just go like, "This is Socratic dialogue." She's
Yeah.
going like, "Are you really sure about that?" But like in hindsight, yeah, of course she would try to bring out the good part of her mom, and she
Yeah.
might be right. But also like take there's that scene we talked about earlier where they're in like they're at a Halloween party, and she's sitting with some other guy like quite closely, and the AI guide goes, she's leaning away. She doesn't like this guy, and he counters, she could have walked away at any point. And
Yeah.
in the moment, you take that and you go like, he's just being bitter. But I think with the reveal that like
Yeah.
yeah like
These are two deeply biased people,
Yeah.
like viewing distorted memories is
And-
what's happening. But we reach this like emotional climax where he like realizes like, oh no, my life has been ruined for nothing,
yeah
and um and he goes like through his shit, and it's like, oh, here's a piece of music she recorded that like was dropped earlier, and like she composed it, and we have this sort of like montage
yeah
of
twin endings essentially of
Yeah.
him going to the funeral, but also look like going back to the memory of him first listening to her playing the cello.
yeah, and also intercut with the daughter playing the piece at the funeral. And this is a bit of sleight of hand because we can only assume that the daughter does not have the memories of the AI guide.
Yeah.
And it's just like clearly just like met this guy who had got his shit sorted out already, and you're like, hey, we had a tempestuous relationship that ended in like misunderstanding and tragedy. But you don't need to know the details of that. Here's this piece of music that will mean a lot to you. Which, like, you know, I think as, like, imagined uses for AI go, or really, in this case, it's just talking it through with anyone else, you know, that's good.
Yeah, it's a good ending. I think it works quite well. I was also thinking that that maybe her, because he comes into like the chapel and just stands at the door, and I can only imagine the daughter playing the cello is like, who is this guy?
I mean, she clearly got the piece from him.
Maybe.
No, that, like, he gets the cassette.
Yeah.
So, like, there's like some link implied, but like the interesting thing to me is that the link is clearly like very different than her avatar, who has like an adversarial relationship with
yes.
this guy, but like gone through the shit with him, and she's just like, oh, this is the man who like had a relationship that ended badly with my mother, but you know he's
cool
he
now.
cares enough to like show up for the funeral, and like he's made all this effort. I wonder what that's about anyway.
But yeah, that's the episode, and it works. Like I think the thing that struck me like as we were watching the ending is like this feels like a very complete story.
Yes.
It feels like a complete story, and it does not feel like it has a lot of like veering off into completely different topics.
Yeah.
But there is a part of me that wonders how much technology is part of it.
Oh, I was just thinking about this also because like I'm leaning towards like you can do the story almost beat for beat, with just like the daughter just like doing a disguise thing.
Yeah.
You know, she's like, oh yeah, no, like I didn't want to say because I didn't know how you'd react, so I posed as a funeral home employee. And in the crucial moment still reveal that.
Yeah,
Like
there is some interesting part where like they bring out essentially the enhance button from CSI, but in this setting it makes sense.
yeah.
Like where she goes like, oh look, there's a wedding ring or an engagement ring on her finger.
Yeah, I mean, still a little bit enhancy.
It is.
But yeah, no, like I there's like a few minor elements that the technology like puts into this story, and I don't think any of them are integral. But to just like mark them right, we have the long established Black Mirror tradition of going like, hey, um, we have the neural interface.
Yeah.
And guess what? While you're in there, you look like you're fucking dead. You know, you look like a zombie.
It seemed less like that this episode, but I think that's more because they kind of snap in and out of it faster.
Yeah, no, but like Paul Giamatti's still acting the shit out of that, where he's like, oh yeah, no, slack face. Oh! You know, like it's like always like this, like it is a bit less effect or centered here because it's always like just the tail end of it when we're waking up, and we don't get like the brief like intercut shots of Paul Giamatti looking like a zombie while he's like in the mind photo exploration system, because like that's not what the episode is about, but like it can't help itself still doing that like little Black Mirrorism. And the reason I'm pulling on that so much is because this comes back in the final funeral scene, because all the funeral guests have the fucking neural interface. And the only two people who don't have it are Paul Giamatti and the daughter. Right? So that's... And like they're sharing a moment and everyone else is like fucking zombie moding. And I don't fucking know what that means. Maybe we'll like dig into pull something from that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why don't we get into the meat of this episode, which to me is like, memory is the core mechanic, but like, as you say, I don't actually think in and of itself the typical human fallibility of memory is not what's interesting. It's the filtering, right? Like the ability to take a thing that happened to you that might have been good and might have been bad and spend 40 years ruminating and trying to dissect and obsessing over it. Right? Like this is a fairly common Black Mirror vibe, but I think they actually nail in on it but much better here. And I want to say immediately what makes me think of that final scene, right, is the idea that like so to make this clear, because I don't know how well we stated it earlier, the point of this company is to make like a eulogy service. Yeah. Right? Like to curate memories of the deceased. Mm-hmm. Like there's multiple of the early scenes that go like, we can't use this for the eulogy because it turns out she cheated on her fiance.
Yeah, and then later on, that's just a given for all of the rest.
Yes,
like none of this shit is making it into the eulogy service. The only thing that makes it is the fucking like cello recording.
Yeah. So my immediate thought here, right, is that like we've already commented on the fact that like the daughter does not know this man the way we know their relationship.
Yeah.
But the point that might be made is that these two, we don't know who the other like mourners here are, but it strikes me that like these two people have probably some of the most intimate relationships with the deceased woman here, of anyone here, and they've spent the last 40 minutes of the episode's runtime really delving into the bad shit, right? Like they're I wouldn't say they have an unbiased view of our dear deceased Carol, but they do have a balanced one. They do not have the curated, here's the good memories of our lovely deceased person. And I think that might be what they're trying to say with everyone else have been zombified.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's definitely part of it, right? Because like I do think that technology is ultimately peripheral, but I do think there's like a little bit of a rim shot being made that's like, oh yeah, I know, like this technology, we've sort of like pulled it along, kind of sucks, you know, like.
I want to give slightly more respect to the technology because I think, but like they don't really bring this out much in the episode. But I want to say that like this episode is about how we curate our own memories, and this is the one time where they go, explicitly were curating.
Yeah.
So there's some connection there, even if it's not super strong.
But yeah, no, I want to go a bit hard right out of the gate and draw 2 episode parallels. Because we do, of course, have the entire history of you.
Yeah.
Which starts all of this in a way. And we have Hotel Reverie.
I was gonna say Hotel Reverie too, yeah.
Right. Because, and I think, like, the entire history of you is almost a part I'm less interested in. Like, the sort of, like, Paul Giamatti, like, just fucking stewing in a sauce and just having the worst time of it.
I think there's an interesting just like parallel between that, where like the entire history of you is about how like examining these memories and interactions with someone you live very close with can be damaging in an obsessive way. And this episode is about, no, like this is a woman you haven't met for 40 years. Like you don't even really know that she's married.
Yeah, no, and I guess it's like an interesting companion piece across the seasons.
Yeah.
Because it is just straight up like, yeah, no, that thing that guy does in the entire history of you that he seems to like kind of need the technology to do. You don't need the technology. you could just like stew for 15 years.
And then you can enhance it with the technology later, but like you can make the base game perfectly well on your own.
Yeah, no. Like this is like a minor add-on at most. And I'm the interesting one for me is Hotel Reverie, because I'm like, this episode once more is about like the relationship to more or less like a ghost, right? Like this episode is like haunted as shit. Like Paul Giamatti is like the world's most haunted man in his like little attic, hanging on to his mementos that he fucking hates. And yeah, no, like that's sort of like where I'm at with this.
Right? Yeah, I think it's interesting. I even want to say that it's like the cinematography is shot in a bit way, because we get a couple of shots of Carol, and she's like this sort of like blurry, distant image of like the one time we see her in motion, like her hair is spinning around her head, so we can't see her face. Like it is ghost shots.
Yeah, no, this is like. I'm also thinking like, oh yeah, no, this like dead wife material from like recollection shops from Mr. Fridged Wife Revenger or whatever, but maybe that's a little bit of a bit of a different genre. And yeah, no, like it, because like the other thing that is like so like interesting to me is that Carol's characterization is like noticeably absent in this episode, because she's fucking dead, right? We do not have access to her anymore, and all that remains is people who knew her extremely closely fucking arguing over who she was. And in this case, the interesting thing is like that the argument is very productive, right? Because both of them are like learned something, and mostly Paul Giamatti. But also like the daughter gets to be like, oh yeah, no, my mother did ditch her fiance, and like she really had a like, not entirely that she's at fault for, but she did just like go through a string of boyfriends, which were some faulty ass relationships.
Yeah, which ended up resulting in her in the long run.
Yeah,
which is interesting, because I don't think like. I think there's like a little interesting scene there where like she ends up talking very quickly about how her dad, who is apparently into QAnon now, I want to say is the subtext.
Yeah.
And it's just like, we don't actually get, apart from the fact that she was taught cello by her mother, which is like a plot point, because there's like a middle scene in the episode where she obsesses about her mom's cello playing.
They argue about the place of the cello in the deceased's life.
Yeah.
And the daughter is like, you took the cello away from her, and he's like, seems fine at the time, and you know, we're never really given to understand that it was like a great crime. It's just something she really cares about. the
Yeah.
daughter.
But yeah, like I think it's interesting that we do not get the daughter is not interested in talking about how her mom went after this time of her life, like because and it makes sense to me just on the basis that like the daughter knows after that.
Yeah.
The mom, like Carol, shut the fuck up about this time of her life specifically, including to her daughter. So this is what her daughter is interested in. Like, and I imagine, just based on the vibes here, that Carol was probably a fairly good mum.
Yeah.
I want to say, like, she, like,
taught her the cello.
Taught her the cello, which I think is just like, you know, that's the cinematographic stand-in on she cared about her daughter.
Yeah, and
there's a connection.
The daughter does just seem like generally fairly well adjusted.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, she does not seem to have any bitterness about her mum, but she wants to know what happened in those lost years, and she wants those years to conform to her understanding of her mom. Just in the same way that Paul Giamatti wants, like, his interpretation of those years to conform with the end of those years.
Yeah.
Which, as far as I can tell, he started it. Now, that's not important.
He is just also, like, proven wrong on the facts in a way that is, like, deeply devastating to him.
Yeah. But in some interesting ways, right? Like, I think the wedding or the engagement ring thing is like an interesting flag that, like, were you just willfully ignorant about this? Did you shave off that you knew this with time and like being like, I'm just gonna filter that part out? Like,
ignorant of what?
Like in the very first one, the daughter points out, oh, she has an engagement ring on when you two are flirting.
Ah, yes, the first engagement ring.
Yeah,
as opposed to the second engagement ring.
Yes,
like
right,
this just have like a lovely romantic comment, or I guess romantic drama energy of like there just being like a lot of like load-bearing engagement rings.
I suppose, but yeah, like it's interesting to me that like
no, we don't ever get to know more about that.
Which is, there's a moment in the middle where like, you know, he has his flirty coworker at home, but because of stuff like this, I was genuinely unsure whether the episode wanted it to be unambiguous that they slept together, because for a lot of this it feels like they toy with the ambiguity a lot, and to be just completely open. Like for the engagement ring thing, like he says like, she said she had a boyfriend. I promise. It didn't seem that serious.
Yeah, no, and the daughter avatar is like, oh no, she was engaged, baby, because that information is apparently entirely known to her. Really, just like a gap between things with both other sides fairly accessible, and yeah, no, like. That's what makes this episode like so interesting to me, is that it is just like another meditation on like when people are dead, they are gone, and
they don't get to influence how they are remembered after that.
Yeah.
You get to decide how you want to remember them, and you can take whatever background experience or feelings about your relationship with them to color that. Yeah. But that's you.
Yeah, no, like, your recollection also isn't real, and right?
Yeah.
In, like, it's also, like, process. And, like, in that sense, like, we have just, like, a theme of, like, meditating on the dead in this season.
For sure. I think, like, one of the things that... I'm gonna throw out a comparison here, and I think this is genuinely on the... Black Mirror has on occasion had an issue of the female leads, and I think Carol can be considered a female lead to an extent here, with an asterisk. Yeah. Not really getting their own side of the story, right? Like, White Christmas is a very big one. But something like Beyond the Sea is actually what I first thought about this on, where like the story is about gender to an extent, right?
Yeah.
It's about disposability. It's about like, oh, these men start out treating their families, especially their wives, as adjuncts, like as possessions, and then so does the story.
Yeah.
This one, I think, actually averts that problem.
Yeah.
Because like that is the point, while still implying that like this was a fully formed woman.
Yeah.
She is not a possession of Paul Giamatti or of her daughter.
Yeah, no, she probably had her own relationship to the cello, that was like a bit more complicated than this is something that I'm going to pass to my daughter.
Yeah, and it strikes me as this works without falling into the exact issues it presents, right? Because it leaves you with the ambiguity. It leaves you with this room that, like, this woman had a life before and after all of this. This was a deeply emotional part of her life. But how she felt about it, how she acted, is still largely up in the air, apart from the impressions she left on other people.
Yeah, and I think I also want to flag that it does, like, work a bit better, in my opinion, than Hotel Reverie.
Yes.
Because Hotel Reverie, like, kind of wants to be about this, whereas here, it also wants to be about it, but it's like, it's lampshading a bit more that this is what it's supposed to be about, because people are arguing about it, right?
Yeah.
In Hotel Reverie, there's no, like, oh, actually, the person who's, like, a historian of this dead actress, who has, like, their own opinions, or, like, I don't know, a descendant or whatever. It is just the lead who has her view. In this one, that is being centered by having people have an argument about who the fuck this person was.
I also just feel like Paul Giamatti in this episode is just a much more fully realized character. Like we get the character traits, right? Like he's bitter, he's self-pitying, he's been ruminating about this for 40 years, and I forget her name, Brandy Sunday or something like that, in Hotel Reverie, does not get that full extent of characterization. She gets a motivation.
Yeah.
And that's about it for her to fall into an obsession with this. And I think that in and of itself is such a, like, difference in how this like, emotionally impacts you watching it. Like, you can tell that Paul Giamatti, he's crossed the event horizon long ago.
Yeah.
And while I do agree, we do not get a lot of good times to really give the, like, this is why, like, he fell in love, and, like, why the two of them fell in love.
Yeah, no, there is just, like, 3 years of this relationship that are, like, glossed over. And I do genuinely think that, like, that is a rough spot in the episode, in the sense that, like, yes, it makes sense that he would do that as, you know, the bitter rememberer, you know, the memory modifier. But on the other hand, like, it does just sort of make it, like, seem like, oh yeah, no, I guess I'm glad they broke up, right?
Yeah.
Like, the love story, and I, like, that's also, like, it's also interesting because that's sort of what makes this the absence of the other perspective is what sort of makes this not a love story, right? Because the, like a Notebook knockoff version of this, I haven't seen the Notebook, just to be clear, but the Notebook knockoff version of this is like shooting both like perspectives in parallel to, like, emphasize the tragedy, whereas here we're just, like, left with, like, one perspective and another outsidish perspective, having to argue about the big other perspective.
Yeah, I think like what this episode pulls off quite well, like, I think there could have probably been a scene where, like, the daughter just goes, like, why were you two even together? And maybe we get, like, a little bit more to fill that out. But yeah. I do also think, like, I think there's enough here to show that, like we don't get that story, but that story exists. If that makes sense. Like, like, these two are, to put it like this, clearly, like, not in it for the money. They are very poor. Like, they move across, like, they move to the US to be, or maybe they start in the US. She's British.
I think he is American.
Okay. I don't know why, but it's to start, I thought he was Irish. I just feel like close to the UK.
I think he has an Italian last name.
I know. But I was just like, okay, close to the UK. It's a UK company. Maybe, like, Ireland. He's still speaking English. Look, don't worry about it. It was a faulty assumption of mine, and I'll just own that.
Yeah.
But the point being, like, you know, these people stuck together through what was clearly, like, not an easy life.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they lived above a piano shop. They had, like, one room. We are sitting in a bigger room than they had to live together.
And we're living in, like, fairly cramped conditions.
Yeah. Like, I think it genuinely shows that there was something keeping these people together.
Yeah.
Even, like, I'm just gonna be real honest. I was a little bit surprised that they just did not break up after she just finds clear evidence essentially of him cheating, and then they have what is described as essentially like a fire and brimstone argument.
Yeah, no, like the an interesting thing that the episode does is just like not discuss what happened in the interval in between, but like my interpretation is that they just do not communicate, and
Oh
that
yeah.
he's like, well, I guess I'll like go over there and propose. After like the last like interaction with me she had was finding out I cheated on her.
I think it's like a very interesting type of love story where like because you could take that, right? Like they've been apart for, I assume, months at that point.
Yeah,
like
well,
like with her
quite
being,
a few.
yeah, with her being in England, they can't even talk. They have to send letters back and forth,
Yeah.
which is like it's fine, but it's not great, right?
Yeah.
And like when he was like, okay, yeah, like I cheated or whatever, I was kind of like, is this like basically saying like, okay, you got tired of being apart, you got tired of not like having a relationship, so you went to someone else. But I think the interpretation is more, no, this was an act of revenge. Like this, in a way, like this is an act of bitterness that like you left for another country and now we can't be together.
I think like her cheating is definitely a revenge for cheating.
Oh yeah.
Him, I think it is just straight up like a little bit of opportunism, getting drunk and going like, well, you know, I do think he's like not supposed to be like that strong of character.
No, I think kind of that's the impression we get of this. Like he willpower is not his highest D&D stat.
Yeah.
He's had a rough time of it.
And yeah, no, God, what more is there to say?
That's kind of my thing. Is that like I think this is not podcast material. I know that's a hot take. It's not our podcast material because Charlie Brooker doesn't. And oh right, we have another writer apart from Charlie Brooker on this one.
Yeah, do we know anything about her?
Well, her name is Ella Road.
Uh-huh.
Best known for her stage play The Phlebotomist, and apparently for her work on Black Mirror, which I don't know if there's more of that. No, seems like it's just Eulogy. Okay. Should have done the research before if we're gonna go into this. Welcome to the podcast. But no, seriously, I don't think this is a good podcasting episode of Black Mirror, specifically because it's so focused.
Yeah.
Like, we do not have Charlie Brooker going like, anyway, and I'm gonna take some pot shots at social media. I'm gonna take some pot shots at phones these days.
Oh yeah, no, like phones are just like not present.
I know, it's crazy. There's like a very small joke earlier on about like, oh, like, she says something. Oh, I'm blanking now, but there's like a jab at like, oh, we didn't have that technology back then.
Oh, with long distance calling.
Right. No, I think there's something else too. Anyway, not important. But this is genuinely just like a really focused episode. It is a human story. Like I want to say, in structure, if anything, the closest it feels to is like something like Be Right Back. But obviously, it does not need as much technology to support it.
I don't think it needs the technology at all to
Not really, no.
restate that.
It's a cool gimmick. And you could have done more with it. But genuinely, like, I do not feel bitter that the technology is not there. Or that it's not necessary.
Yeah.
I'm just happy to have, like, a good, finished, complete story.
Yeah. I do think like it adds to the canon nevertheless, because I think like it is like because like we're in for the TV show that spawned like I don't know if this is like what like gave all these startup monsters the idea, but like that was like really put the idea of like the like dead relative AI in the public consciousness and in the startup consciousness. Just like an episode that goes like the dead are gone is very interesting. Because like it's not like it's not like entering the other conversation. It's just like taking this fact that is true as given,
Yeah,
which is good, to be clear.
I think maybe just the fact that like this is a Black Mirror episode that like it, in a weird way I want to connect it to Smithereens and just saying that like, no man, the technology is not all powerful, you are still you.
Yeah.
Like at most it enables, or at least kind of hurries along some of your worst instincts, but like, there's not, because I could very much see an alternative like episode here where it goes and then he gets a magic photo he can like go into at any point and interact with his lost love. But no, man, that's what he's been doing. That's his last 40 years.
Well, I guess not all of them. He seems to have like gotten his shit together like
Yeah, he seems to have genuinely
18 years in, and then like had like a middling life.
Yeah, I think it's also kind of interesting that we do not get that part of it, but I think that's just like that's just a part of like what focused attention is on. Like if you have had like something traumatic in your life, or like just like some big event that you obsess over and ruminate over, when you do that, the rest of your life doesn't exist. There is that event.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually like quite a... I think it's neat, because we then get to speculate on like, did he find anyone else? She is at least married, because they do mention it like, or she was married, she's dead, to be clear. Because she has changed her maiden name.
Yeah.
But we have nothing about him, and like even that about her is very little.
Yeah. No, like it's very much like an episode that's just like about what isn't there, what isn't possible. And it's just like, and I guess like the thought behind it is that like, yes, like it's people who are like gone, like leave a void, but at the same time, like it's probably like, I think the case this episode is sort of making a little bit is that like it, you can still like deal with that void in different ways, right?
Yeah.
You can engage with other people about it, or you can like turn inward, and I think the case is very strongly made against turning inward.
Yeah. I mean, this is just a general like PSA on don't ruminate. Ruminate, like, there's a healthy amount of rumination, but there's also well beyond that, as Paul Giamatti.
Like when you ruminate, you go through all the grass in your ruminating stomach, and then you're like, oh, I've chewed this grass before. Probably just listen to a podcast.
This podcast
specifically.
No other podcast will love you.
Just watch TV, go out to play sports, do anything.
I literally had an exam about this yesterday.
This is psychological advice. Ruminate the appropriate amount. Once you're cycling, do stuff.
Yeah.
At some point, just distracting yourself is extremely healthy.
I think, like, if I had to sum it up, this is an episode that is anti-necromancy at its core.
Yeah.
You can process your lost loved ones, but you should not resurrect them in the metaphorical sense here, rather than in the literal sense of something like be right back. Like, at some point, you just have to go, they're dead, their history is dead with them.
Hey, I get a cool cello piece out of it. And that'll make me feel feelings, and that's good.
Yeah. Okay, so I have prepped the reviews.
What do the people think?
This is a well-regarded episode.
That makes sense.
This is a well-regarded episode by the people. Slightly less by critics, but there's quite a span, actually.
Yeah,
I
that
think
makes sense to me.
It leans upwards, for sure. But there were some very low ratings by critics. Which kind of surprised me, because, like, listen. Once we got into this episode, I immediately realized this is an episode for me. It's pretentious, it's a character study, it's about sadness. I'm in, baby. Yeah. And usually, my taste on stuff like that tends to align with the critics. So I was a bit surprised that there was that much range.
intuitive like theory, the critics were here for more Black Mirror than this.
I could see that. Yeah.
But like I don't know, I feel like I feel like this episode isn't like capital B Black Mirror, but it is just like one step further removed from like the like core stuff of Black Mirror, right? It's still like it's still about things that are like deeply like interlinked with technological society. It's just not making a point. It is making a thesis that we can then use to like think about technology with it. It's not itself talking about technology, but I think that's like it's a valuable contribution.
We talked in the past about like we think Black Mirror generally is at its peak when it like uses technology to frame and discuss human innate instincts and like failings and stuff like that. And I think there's a bit of a scale to that, right? Because on one hand, we have the entire history of You, where we can kind of figure this guy got like completely unleashed upon the world thanks to this technology. And that's on one end. I think something like Archangel is also there. Like, anxious mom gets, here's your anxiety generator, ma'am. Would you like to abuse that? And she goes, yeah. And then this, I think, is on the other hand, where it's more about the technology, just like the framing part, the like enhancing part of like, let's look at a thing. And technology isn't necessary, but it can help.
Yeah, I think maybe this is overstating it a little bit, but like this technology is as important to the story as the technology of the letter is to the story of Frankenstein. Right? It's like it's a great way to like format it. But like it's not fundamentally this type of thing. Like it fills a role that makes the story better, but it does not need to be itself. It is the role that is helpful, not super necessary.
It's a strong visualizing metaphor. Yeah. And it allows it to be broken down more easily.
Yeah.
But you could write a story without it. Yeah. It's just a good episode, man. Like, I don't know. Like, this is... I think this is the first time in a while I've had, like, a full, like, nah, man, this is just, like, good. Like, it doesn't need to be qualified that much at all. And we are picky people. We are picky podcaster people.
Sorry, picky pod people.
I'm gonna stop. But yeah, like, it's nice. Like, we've had quite a positive opinion of this season so far in general.
Yeah.
But we've, like, even, I think Common People might be the second best episode so far.
Yeah.
And even then...
No, I think Common People's the best.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, no, I think, I do just, like, give a little bit of extra points for it being more Black Mirror.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Right.
The point being, these two are the highest.
Yeah.
And even with Common People, we had, like, a pretty big discussion of, like, here's what just does not work about this episode. Yeah. And I do not have that about this episode.
Yeah, no, like, it's a good story well told.
Yeah. Now, shall we look at hopefully another good story well told coming up?
I had so I guess you will disagree with this on account on liking this episode more, but I think the argument may still hold. I'm getting the sense that we might have another season 6 situation where they've put this is, to be clear, I'm being very optimistic, but maybe this is another season 6 situation where they've just sandwiched the season in good episodes.
I could say that, yeah.
Because yes, this was a good episode. It's not a Black Mirror-y good episode, so I think it's not useful for sandwiching it, but Common People. So, and maybe the next episode is just gonna be a fucking banger.
Well, it is a sequel to your favorite episode of Black Mirror, USS Callister.
For the record, I fucking hated that episode for how it thinks about Star Trek.
And yeah, that's the fun part, is that you had a genuine personal grudge with it. Yeah, which I think is really gonna help with the grudge rematch here. USS Callister into Infinity. 90 minutes long.
I really hope it's good.
Oh, surely we shall see.
The stakes are high.
I think it can redeem itself. Sandwich. Come on. Sandwich belief. We believe in the sandwich.
We believe in the sandwich. We believe in the sandwich.
So join us next time, dear listeners, for the final episode of this podcast until season 8 comes out. Huzzah!
Huzzah!